The desperate plea. The crystalline towers of Kythera Prime gleamed under three suns, but today their light seemed dimmer. Ambassador Zara Veltar stood at the massive viewing window of the Imperial Council chamber, watching evacuation ships stream away from the planet's surface like frightened insects. Her 6 arms trembled slightly as she clutched the emergency communication device that would change everything. Behind her, the council chamber buzzed with desperate voices. The Kythera Empire had ruled 12 star systems for over 2,000 years, their technology considered the most advanced in the known galaxy. Their ships could bend space and time, their weapons could crack planets, and their shields could withstand the fury of dying stars. Yet none of it mattered now. Status report from the Outer Rim, announced General Korath, his massive form towering over the council table. The Kythera were naturally tall, reaching nearly 10 feet in height, with crystalline skin that reflected their emotions in changing colors. Right now, Korath's skin pulsed deep purple, the color of fear. The Nexus system has fallen, Korath continued, his voice heavy with defeat. The Void Plague consumed everything. 12 billion Kythera, gone in 3 days. The infection is spreading faster than our evacuation efforts. The Void Plague was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It wasn't a disease in any traditional sense. It was something far worse. The plague appeared as a writhing mass of dark energy that consumed matter at the quantum level, converting everything it touched into more of itself. Planets, ships, even the very fabric of space-time became part of its ever-growing hunger. Science leader Tyth activated the holographic display showing the plague's advance. Red zones marked consumed systems, yellow showed active infection, and green represented the few remaining safe areas. The pattern was terrifying, a spiral of destruction moving steadily toward the Empire's core worlds. Our best projections give us 18 days before it reaches Kythera Prime, Tyth announced, her usually confident voice cracking. Maybe less if it continues to accelerate. The chamber fell silent. 18 days to evacuate a population of 30 billion across their remaining worlds. Even with their entire fleet working constantly, they could save perhaps 10% of their people. Emperor Valdris, ancient even by Kythera standards, slowly rose from his throne. His skin had faded to pale silver with age, but his mind remained sharp. Auctions, he commanded simply. We've tried everything, Your Majesty, Tyth replied. Quantum bombs, dark matter weapons, even attempts to collapse local space-time around the infection. Nothing works. The plague adapts to everything we use against it. Our weapons only make it stronger. General Korath stepped forward. We could make a final stand at the fortress worlds. Concentrate our remaining fleets and fight to the last ship. To what end? Emperor Valdris asked quietly. You said yourself our weapons are useless. We would die gloriously, but we would still die. The silence stretched until Ambassador Zara finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. There is one option we haven't considered. Every eye in the chamber turned to her. Zara's skin shifted to embarrassed orange as she felt their attention. Speak, the Emperor commanded. Zara took a deep breath. The Terrans. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Voices erupted in outrage across the chamber. The Deathworlders. Are you insane? We quarantined them for good reason. They're more dangerous than the plague. Emperor Valdris raised one hand, and silence returned. Explain. Zara activated her personal display, showing files that hadn't been accessed in decades. 75 years ago, we made first contact with a species from a world they call Earth. The planet was classified as a Class 9 death world, the most dangerous category in our system. Images appeared showing a blue and brown planet covered in violent weather systems. The surface is 70% liquid water, deep enough to drown most species. The landmasses experience extreme temperature variations, seismic activity, and atmospheric storms that would kill most galactic citizens within minutes. More images showed the planet's dominant species, bipedal creatures that stood only 6 feet tall, with pale skin and primitive technology. The Terrans, or humans as they call themselves, not only survive on this death world, they thrive on it. They've populated every continent, every climate zone, even the most hostile environments. General Korath scoffed. Primitive survivors. What could they possibly do against the Void Plague? Zara's display changed to show human military conflicts. This is why we quarantine them, General. Look at their approach to warfare. The Council watched footage of human battles. Soldiers fighting in frozen wastelands, burning deserts, and toxic ruins. What disturbed the Kithera most wasn't the violence, but the persistence. Humans kept fighting when logic dictated surrender. They found ways to win battles that should have been impossible. Their biology is terrifying, Zara continued. They heal from injuries that would kill most species. They can function without sleep for days, survive without food for weeks, and their reaction speed is faster than our security systems can track. Emperor Valders studied the data carefully. What happened when we made contact? We were impressed by their potential, Zoret admitted. We offered them membership in the Galactic Council, access to our technology, and partnership in exploration. They accepted eagerly. Then why did we quarantine them? Zara's skin turned deep blue, the color of regret. Because we were afraid. In just 10 years of contact, they had reverse-engineered most of our basic technology. They were asking questions about our weapons, our defenses, our military strategies. Their curiosity seemed unlimited. She showed records of human scientists and engineers working alongside Kithera researchers. The humans absorbed knowledge at an incredible rate, often improving on designs that had taken the Kithera centuries to develop. The final incident was when they asked to see our quantum warfare research, Zora continued. When we refused, they built their own quantum laboratory and developed weapons we'd never seen before. Weapons that made our military experts uncomfortable. General Korath leaned forward. What kind of weapons? We don't know, Zora admitted. We classified all human contact as too dangerous and established a quarantine zone around their solar system. No ships in or out. We told them we needed time to evaluate their application for galactic citizenship. That was 75 years ago, the Emperor noted. Yes, Your Majesty, and according to our monitoring stations, they've been busy. The display showed long-range sensor readings from the edge of human space, massive construction projects, energy signatures unlike anything in their databases, and hundreds of ships moving between planets in their system. Our analysts believe they've unified their entire species under a single government, Zara explained, something they'd never achieved in their entire history. They've built industrial complexes throughout their solar system and developed technologies we can't identify from this distance. Science leader Tyth looked alarmed. They've had 75 years to prepare, thinking we might eventually attack them. What have they become? I don't know, Zara replied honestly, but I know what we've become. We've become desperate. Emperor Valders stood silently for long minutes, processing everything he'd heard. The chamber waited, knowing that whatever he decided would determine the fate of their civilization. You're suggesting we contact a species we quarantined because they were too dangerous, he said finally. You want us to ask for help from beings who have spent nearly a century preparing for possible war with us? Yes, Your Majesty. Why would they help us? Zara's skin shifted to determined silver. Because despite everything, humans have one trait that impressed us most during our brief contact. They cannot stand to watch suffering without acting. Every human culture, every human religion, every human philosophy emphasizes protecting those who cannot protect themselves. She paused, looking around the chamber at her fellow council members. We've tried everything our advanced civilization could devise. We've used our most powerful weapons, our greatest scientific minds, our entire military might. None of it worked. The plague isn't just destroying us, she continued. It's learning from us. Every time we attack it, it becomes immune to that method. But humans don't fight like us. They don't rely on superior technology or overwhelming force. They adapt. They improvise. They find ways to win that no one else would ever consider. General Korath's skin flashed angry red. You're asking us to bet our entire species on the hope that a bunch of Deathworld primitives can succeed where we failed. No, Zara replied quietly. I'm asking us to bet our species on the hope that sometimes the best way to fight a monster is to wake up something even more dangerous. Emperor Valdris made his decision. Send the message. Within hours, a Kythera message pod was launched toward the Sol system. It carried star charts showing the Void Plague's advance, tactical data from every failed battle, and a desperate plea for help from a civilization that had once considered humans too primitive for meaningful contact. The message was simple. We are dying. We have nowhere else to turn. Please help us. As the pod disappeared into hyperspace, Ambassador Zara wondered if they were about to be saved by their former enemies, or if they had just invited something worse than the Void Plague into their galaxy. In the depths of space, the pod raced toward Earth, carrying the hopes and fears of an entire empire toward a species that had spent 75 years wondering why the galaxy had abandoned them. The humans were about to learn that sometimes the greatest honor isn't being accepted by civilization, it's being asked to save it. The Deathworld response. The Kythera message pod was intercepted by the Terran defense grid exactly 14 hours after crossing into human space. Admiral Marcus Chen stood in the command center of Luna Station, reading the translated message for the fourth time. Around him, the finest minds of humanity worked frantically to understand what they were seeing. Confirm translation accuracy, Admiral Chen ordered. Translation verified, sir, reported Dr. Elena Vasquez, head of Sinolinguistics. The Kythera Empire is facing extinction from something called the Void Plague. They estimate 12 days before total collapse. Captain Sarah Rodriguez, commander of the TDS Retribution, studied the tactical data the aliens had provided. Sir, according to this information, the Kythera have tried everything. Quantum weapons, dark matter bombs, even localized space-time collapse. Nothing worked. Admiral Chen was a tall, weathered man who had spent his entire adult life preparing for this day. The day the galaxy would either accept humanity or try to destroy them. He never imagined it would come as a desperate plea for help. Analysis of this Void Plague, he asked. Dr. James Wright, Earth's leading expert on exotic matter, pulled up his findings. It's unlike anything in our databases, Admiral. Based on the Kythera data, it appears to be a form of sentient dark energy that converts matter at the quantum level. It learns and adapts to every weapon used against it. Recommendations. Captain Rodriguez smiled grimly. Sir, they've tried fighting it like civilized beings. Maybe it's time someone fought it like humans. The irony wasn't lost on Admiral Chen. For 75 years, humanity had been quarantined because the Kythera considered them too dangerous for galactic civilization. Now those same aliens were begging the dangerous humans to save them. Status of the home fleet. All ships ready for deployment, sir, Rodriguez reported. 200 vessels, fully crewed and supplied for extended campaign. Admiral Chen looked out the viewport at the assembled human fleet. Unlike the elegant, artistic ships favored by other species, human vessels looked like what they were, weapons of war. They were covered in armor plating, bristling with weapon systems, and built to take tremendous damage while dealing it out in return. Sir, called Lieutenant Commander Thompson from the communications station. President Williams is requesting immediate conference. The main screen activated, showing President Maria Williams in the Situation Room, surrounded by her cabinet and military advisors. Admiral Chen, I've reviewed the alien message. What's your assessment? Madam President, the threat appears genuine. If this Void Plague continues unchecked, it will eventually reach Earth, and our response capability. Admiral Chen straightened. We've been preparing for 75 years, ma'am. We're ready. The preparation had been remarkable. After the quarantine, humanity had done something unprecedented in their history. They had truly united. Every nation, every government, every human organization had joined together with a single purpose, preparing for the day the galaxy might come calling. "Show me what we have," President Williams ordered. The display changed to show the massive shipyards orbiting Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Hundreds of vessels in various stages of completion or maintenance filled the screens. "The home fleet consists of 200 ships," Admiral Chen reported. 50 destroyers for fast strike operations, 100 cruisers for main battle engagement, 30 carrier dreadnoughts for fighter deployment, and 20 Fortress-class battleships for maximum firepower. "What makes our approach different from the Kythera?" Dr. Wright answered from his station. "The Kythera fight defensive wars, Madam President. They build shields, protect their worlds, and retreat when overwhelmed. Humans fight offensive wars. We believe the best defense is total destruction of the enemy." Captain Rodriguez added tactical details. "Each ship carries weapon systems the galaxy has never seen. Kinetic rail guns, nuclear torpedo launchers, plasma cannons, and our newest development, quantum disruption bombs that can tear apart molecular bonds. More importantly," Admiral Chen continued, "we don't adapt our technology slowly over generations like other species. Humans adapt tactics during battle. If one weapon doesn't work, we try 10 others. If conventional warfare fails, we ram ships into the enemy. If that fails, we detonate nuclear warheads at point-blank range." President Williams made the decision that would change galactic history. "Admiral Chen, you have authorization to deploy the entire home fleet. Operation Shepherd is approved." Within 6 hours, every human military installation in the solar system was activated. Crews that had trained their entire lives for this moment finally received their combat assignments. Supply ships loaded ammunition, fuel, and medical supplies for what might be the longest campaign in human history. The TDS Retribution, humanity's flagship, prepared to lead the fleet. Admiral Chen addressed his crews across all 200 ships. "For 75 years, the galaxy has treated us like dangerous animals." His voice echoed through every vessel. "They quarantined us because they feared what we might become. Today, we show them they were right to be afraid." He paused, looking out at the assembled fleet through the bridge windows. "But we're not going to prove their fears about us. We're going to prove that sometimes the monsters are exactly what civilization needs." The fleet entered hyperspace formation. 200 human warships, carrying the most determined species the galaxy had ever known, heading toward an enemy that had never lost a battle. The journey to Kythera space took 6 days. During the transit, human crews studied every piece of data the aliens had provided, analyzed every battle report, and prepared for an enemy unlike anything they had ever faced. Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Retribution as they approached the edge of the infected zone. "Sensors detect massive energy signatures ahead, Admiral. The Void Plague has consumed 3 more systems since the message was sent." Admiral Chen studied the tactical display. The plague had spread faster than the Kythera had predicted. Entire star systems now showed as dead zones, empty space where planets and stars had once existed. "Signal from surviving Kythera forces," reported the communications officer. "Admiral, they're requesting we fall back to defend their core worlds." "Negative," Admiral Chen replied immediately. "Signal the Kythera command. Humanity doesn't fight defensive wars." Instead of retreating to protected space, the human fleet did something that shocked both the Kythera observers and the Void Plague itself. They headed directly toward the largest concentration of plague entities. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen," he broadcast to the fleet. "We're not here to contain this thing or slow it down. We're here to kill it. Target the densest formations and prepare for close engagement." The first battle began at the Noxus system, where the Void Plague had just finished consuming a Kythera colony world. The plague entities, writhing masses of dark energy the size of small moons, detected the approaching human fleet and began their standard adaptation process. But humans didn't fight standard battles. "All ships, execute Pattern Delta, Captain Rodriguez ordered. Instead of forming traditional battle lines, the human vessels scattered into seemingly random positions around the plague entities. The plague launched its standard attacks, energy beams that had destroyed every Kythera weapon system they encountered. But human ships didn't try to block or deflect the beams. They simply absorbed the damage on their heavy armor and kept coming. Kinetic batteries, fire for effect, Admiral Chen commanded. Rail guns designed to punch through asteroid fields opened fire. Solid tungsten rounds accelerated to significant fractions of light speed, slammed into the plague entities. For the first time since its emergence, the Void Plague encountered weapons that caused actual damage. But the plague began adapting, its quantum structure shifting to become resistant to kinetic impact. Plague entities showing adaptation to kinetic weapons, reported the tactical officer. Good, Admiral Chen replied calmly. Now they're vulnerable to energy weapons. All ships switched to plasma cannons. The human approach was unlike anything the plague had encountered. Instead of relying on single weapon systems like other species, humans used every type of weapon they had in rapid succession, never giving the plague time to fully adapt to any one attack method. As the battle intensified, human ships began employing tactics that would have horrified civilized species. When the destroyer TDS Wolverine took critical damage, its captain didn't retreat. He rammed his ship directly into a plague entity, while detonating his entire nuclear arsenal. The explosion tore a hole through the center of the plague mass, proving that concentrated nuclear fire could actually damage the entities permanently. All ships, new tactical protocol, Admiral Chen broadcast. Close-range nuclear engagement. Get as close as possible before detonation. What followed was the most savage space battle in galactic history. Human ships dove into the plague formations like aggressive predators, trading their own survival for maximum damage to the enemy. When conventional weapons failed, they used their ships as kinetic weapons. When that failed, they detonated nuclear warheads at point-blank range. The turning point came when Captain Rodriguez, commanding the damaged Retribution, made a decision that would become legend throughout human space. "Admiral, we've lost main engines and most of our weapons," she reported. "But we still have the quantum disruption bombs." Admiral Chen understood immediately. "Sarah, those bombs are untested. We don't know what they'll do to the plague." "Sir, we didn't come here to play it safe," Rodriguez replied. "We came here to win." The Retribution, bleeding atmosphere and listing badly, dove directly into the heart of the largest plague entity. At the last moment, Captain Rodriguez activated every quantum disruption bomb in their arsenal. The explosion was unlike anything seen before. Instead of a normal detonation, space itself seemed to unravel around the plague entity. The quantum disruption bombs tore apart the fundamental forces holding the plague's dark energy together. For the first time since its emergence, a major plague entity was completely destroyed, leaving nothing behind but empty space. All ships, concentrate quantum disruption weapons on remaining entities, Admiral Chen ordered. We found their weakness. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the Noxus system was free of plague entities for the first time in months. 47 human ships had been destroyed, but they had achieved something the entire Kythera Empire couldn't manage. They had actually defeated the Void Plague in direct combat. As the surviving human fleet regrouped, they received a transmission from the Kythera Command Center. Ambassador Zara's voice carried across space, filled with wonder and disbelief. "Admiral Chen, this is Ambassador Zara Veltar of the Kythera Empire. We don't understand what we just witnessed. You destroyed them. You actually destroyed them." Admiral Chen's response was simple and direct. "Ambassador, humans don't fight wars to make statements or proof points. We fight wars to win. And we're not done yet." Over the following days, the human fleet swept through the infected systems, using their new quantum disruption weapons to systematically destroy every plague entity they encountered. Their tactics remained the same: aggressive, direct, and utterly without regard for conventional military wisdom. The Kithera watched in amazement as the primitive Deathworlders accomplished what their advanced civilization could not. The humans didn't try to understand the plague or find elegant solutions to its threat. They simply found the most efficient way to kill it and applied that method with ruthless determination. When the last plague entity was destroyed, the surviving human fleet returned to Kithera Prime. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of his battered flagship, looking down at the crystalline cities of the aliens who had once quarantined his species. "Admiral," Ambassador Zara called from the surface, "on behalf of the Kithera Empire and all the species of this galaxy, I want to thank you. You saved us all." "Don't thank us yet, Ambassador," Admiral Chen replied. "We need to talk." The post-war negotiations established humanity's place in the galaxy permanently. The quarantine was lifted, and humans were offered full membership in the Galactic Council, not as junior partners, but as equals with full voting rights. But perhaps more importantly, the galaxy learned a lesson that would reshape interstellar politics forever. Sometimes civilization's greatest threats can only be stopped by those willing to fight like barbarians. Sometimes the most dangerous species in the galaxy are exactly the ones you need when everything else fails. The humans had proven something that the galaxy would never forget. When giants call for help, sometimes the best response comes from the most unlikely heroes, the small dangerous creatures from the death world called Earth. As the human fleet prepared to return home, Captain Rodriguez, now recovered from her injuries, stood beside Admiral Chen, watching the Kithera capital city below. "Sir, do you think they'll remember this lesson when the next crisis comes?" Admiral Chen smiled grimly. "They'll remember, Captain. And maybe next time, they won't wait until the last minute to ask the monsters for help."